Hi, welcome to my channel. I'm Janet Yung, and in my channel, I share about Feng Shui, Bazi, entrepreneurship as well as personal growth, especially in the areas of communication success and motivation. In today's episode, it will be a carry on the portion that I talk about how do you align with period 9. So in the previous parts or episode, I actually mentioned that we first have to understand what the period 9 Li Gua means. And what does it mean for us in order for us to move on, to be able to align and do well in this new period and new era with the new set of energies. Let's move on to the next segment where I'll share with you more. Hi, welcome to this segment. And if you realize I'm not in my regular setting, I'm in Bali and in the middle of the forest itself. And why am I here, you might ask? Just like all of you, I'm also approaching what we call the retirement age. And if you have seen my previous episode, you would know what I define retirement is when I did a bit of research. It generally means basically no longer being relevant, no longer be of use. That's why we will say retire an old t-shirt, retire something that we do not want. No wonder when we talk about retirement, we are in fear and insecurity. So if you were to look at from stability in period 8 to period 9, instability in terms of the broken lines, of course, each of us will basically have that fear of instability and insecurity. So let's take a look again and understand what actually drives this fear of insecurity. And this can be caused from the onset of COVID. There was the pandemic where we are worried about our physical health. Then comes inflation, where everything became so expensive. And then for many countries, there's also an impending recession. Of course, it's spouting and bringing about two things. One, physical health during the COVID period. Two, basically financial health, especially when we grow older. So if we look at these two things, the financial and the physical health, what will happen? It will actually impact our emotional health as well. So from this perspective, it is actually also quite interesting when we look at period 9 itself. It is really about the fire element, which is about hope and a glimmer of faith or feelings of happiness and passion that things will do well. So for all of us, I think it's more of shifting from planning in a structured way, which we used to do when it was period 8 on how much you must have at the end of your retirement, instead of thinking it that way, because at the end of the day, when you say retire means you are no longer relevant. Why don't we think of it as a next phase in terms of being relevant, but in a very different way, because our priorities change. For a lot of us, our kids may have already grown up. They may no longer be dependent so much on us. We basically need to take care of our own needs in terms of our own financial health and own physical health. So physical health, I think I have covered in some of my videos on Bazi, how you can see some potential dangers and how you can take care of it. Then the other one would actually be from a financial health perspective. If there is insecurity and you do not want to retire and do not want to be irrelevant, then the key thing for us to stay relevant throughout, and like I mentioned in the previous episode, have wealth continuously come in. So whether you plan for different amounts to come in different parts of your journey as you grow older, or you have funds that are coming from a savings account that it comes in regularly, or you generate multiple streams of income such that one stream of income fails, the other will come in. I will cover specifically about this generation of multiple streams of income in another episode, as many has also voted as something that they would like to do as well. As I mentioned earlier on, I'm also, similar like many of you, exploring my next phase of life. And for me, I think it's always good to take a step back, take a break, reflect, and see exactly what is it that we really want. Some of the questions I ask myself, and for clients that I'm coaching, I also ask them, what do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years down the road? It then sets you in a time frame where exactly you can paint a picture. It's like a goal on how you can basically move towards. So I'm here basically also doing exactly the same thing. What would I like to do 5 to 10 years down the road? What would make me happy, fulfilled? And how can I continuously stay relevant to my clients, to my family members, to my community and society? So if you ask these particular questions, I think it's a lot easier. The fear will then not be so much, because usually we live in fear because we are uncertain. But if you are able to paint a picture of where we want to be and take small steps to go towards it, I think it's going to be a lot easier. Now, the next thing then, if we were to look at the Lee trigram or the fire in terms of period 9, fire is also the element which brings about hope, like I mentioned earlier on. That's the reason why spirituality, you will notice, is becoming very popular. Mindfulness, as well as if you are attracted to my channel, it's of course Chinese metaphysics or anything metaphysical or astrological. So that's one of the trends in period 9. Everyone will become more interested in what is not set or cast in stone, because everything has become so uncertain. Now, if we were to look at it from a spirituality perspective, we can also look at the chakra system. Now, I'm not an expert in this particular system itself, but if you were to do a bit of research online, you will know that each of us, we have 7 main chakras that runs from the base of our spine all the way to the crown of our head. And the base of our spine, the chakra, is called the root chakra itself. Now, the root chakra, interestingly, is actually about stability, security, and financial independence from a function perspective. And when it is not balanced, usually we will have the feelings of insecurity, fear, lack of self-confidence. So one of the things that of course we can do besides what I mentioned earlier on is actually to look at how we can balance this root chakra. So I did a little bit of research, and what I found out was that if you were to do breathing meditation, walking meditation, being close to nature, it is like grounding ourselves, basically back to nature, back to who we are supposed to be. And this is the feeling I get when I came to this particular resort itself, especially after the meditation session that I did yesterday evening, which helped ground myself even further. So it gave me a feeling of calmness, as well as not being too fearful, with the hope and faith that everything will be all right. So I hope that if you practice breathing or walking meditation, I'm not an expert in this, you can go online, find a teacher, or just walk in nature itself. You may find that a lot of our fears are actually unfounded. Now, of course, if you are a yoga practitioner, one of the poses for stability is actually the tree pose itself. So in today's episode, I've actually covered a little bit more on the period 9 Li Gua in terms of insecurity, stability, and foundation, which we need to basically address in order for us to even move forward and think about multiple streams of income, or think about how do we have security as we grow older. So now the term is no longer retirement. I hope you agree with me on this. We should be moving on to the next phase of life, thinking about how we should be relevant, and then staying in touch with our community so that we will not have a loss of identity, because a lot of people will become lost if they lose their work title, which quite a few of my clients actually mention. If you'd like to have more tips on how you can have abundance in period 9, how to build multiple streams of income, as well as more tips on how to align such that you will have success, abundance, good health, relationship, and wealth in period 9, do join me in my free webinar on the 20th of May. It's a Saturday at 7 p.m. I've left the link in the video description, and I hope to see you during the webinar. In the next episode, I will actually like to share with you 3 tips on how you can align to period 9. With that, I'd like to thank you for your time for watching this particular video, and I'll see you in my next episode. Goodbye.